Hello there. I'm George Jessel, and this is my daughter, Jerilyn. We had a most unforgettable journey in Israel last summer, and we'd like to take you there with us now. Forget that hot August day when we stepped off the plane at Lida Airport to set foot on the soil of the youngest democracy in the world, the state of Israel. I was going to show my 11-year-old daughter Jerilyn all the wonders of the new state, but it didn't work out that way. Oh, no. She showed me. Once we settled in our hotel, I picked a hat from my collection and we climbed Mount Carmel, hoping we'd escape the heat up there. But Jerilyn had other ideas. We were looking down at the busy port city of Haifa when she said,
Daddy, let's go down there. I want to see what's down there.
Well, what can you do? I followed Jerilyn down to the Haifa docks, where the ships come when they bring the newcomers. Since 1948, they've been coming on these ships and out of the sky on planes. More than 750,000 homeless people. And this year, Israel must be ready to take in new thousands from lands of danger and oppression. I turned around to explain all this to my daughter, but you, young lady, were nowhere to be seen. Jerilyn! Jerilyn! And where did I find you?
I met Rachel. She was 8 years old and very sad. She had just come to Israel with her family. They were waiting for a truck to take them to a reception camp. Rachel could speak a little English, and she lost her doll.
And so it started, before I knew what was happening at tug of war. As usual, I couldn't make my child listen to reason, but my mother never listened to me either. So off we went. First to buy a doll for the new friend, Rachel. And then I found myself driven by cab to the Shah Aliyah reception camp for immigrants to Israel. They stay there during their first days, living in tents, dreaming of a real house, a chance to make their own way. Is this a way for people to live, I wondered? Some would be there for months. Well, Rachel got her doll. Now, Rachel's family insisted that we stay for lunch. Oh, it wasn't pheasant under glass, but we were hungry, and it tasted all right. I kept thinking, so this is how it feels to be a newcomer. On the way out, we met another group of immigrants, just arrived by truck from the docks. Where would we go next? Jerilyn said Tel Aviv sounded good. Who was I to say no? Only her father. So he climbed onto a bus, and off we went. Oh, did I tell you it was hot? It hit 118 in the shade in Tiberias that week. 102 in Jerusalem, 110 in Tel Aviv. But as we rode along, I forgot the heat and the thrill of seeing signs of Israel's progress everywhere. New crops, settlements, industries, and new houses. I felt a little better about the immigrants when I saw those houses, but I kept thinking, there are still 250,000 newcomers living in tents and shacks, and it's hot now. What will they do in the wintertime in the freezing rain? But they were building Israel fast as they could before our very eyes. The only thing that slowed them down was the lack of funds. Tel Aviv. You can see 20 centuries in Israel in one day, and Tel Aviv is the 20th. Tents in the morning, streamlined apartments in the afternoon. What a day. And the faces, speaking every language you could think of. They say Israel can't be a melting pot. It has to be a pressure cooker to absorb so many. Personally, I'd have been glad to stay right there, ready to catch my breath before the heat cooked me. Sent for our luggage from Haifa, but Jerilyn wanted to buy a map and see how far away Jerusalem was.
It was only 45 miles away, Daddy.
I know. Well, next day we were in Jerusalem. We stayed at the King David Hotel. Then I changed my hat, and we went out and saw the tomb of King David. And then the grave of Herzl, who proposed the Jewish state. The buildings of the famous Hebrew University, the temporary quarters, since the present buildings up on Mount Scopus are now beyond the international boundary in the Kingdom of Jordan. We came as close as I cared to come to Israel's border that day.
But in the city, we saw lots of stores.
And we also saw the ruins of war, a grim reminder that Israel did not win its freedom without a bitter struggle against surrounding enemies who aren't friends yet. And today Israel is engaged in another struggle for economic self-sufficiency. You look at the sights of Jerusalem, you see Bible prophecies coming true. But you know it takes hard work to make them come through. And you and I must help.
Daddy, don't forget to tell about the policeman.
Oh, yes, of course, the policeman. That was when we were looking for the Parliament building, the Knesset, they call it. And we were standing in front of it, asking this policeman where it was.
In your Hebrew.
Yeah, in my Hebrew. But he understood your English, didn't he? Then we came out, and he had a snapshot in his hand. He said to me, "Aren't you George Jessel? They're looking for you all over. The officials, you've missed your own reception. You're supposed to be traveling with a guide." I told him I had the best little guide in Israel right there. He took us in hand then, welcomed us officially, he gave us a car and a guide to take us anywhere we wanted to go. We went first into the Jerusalem corridor.
I know. That's the road going out of Jerusalem. Remember those hilltops against the sky?
And the new houses and the new settlements. Yet nearby, bare hills. Hills that won't be bare, though, if Israel gets the help it needs.
They are the Judean hills, remember, Daddy?
And the forest at Mahala Hahamishem.
Hahamisha, Dad.
Like you say. Ah, but what forest? Planted in the last 20 years to stop erosion and to make Israel beautiful. Yet again, close by, barren stretches. These places, too, must be cultivated. So much to do, I thought. How will they do it all? And next came a shock. A young people's settlement right there in the hills called, I can't bring myself to say the name. How do you like that guy? Not only does he get to Israel ahead of me, he has to have a youth village named after him. Wonderful kids, though, and I had to tell them the facts about their sponsor. Not a boy to his name, only daughters. Aaron, our guide, wanted to know where next. I said, ask Jerilyn, but my daughters seemed to be running out of ideas.
And then Aaron said, you like cowboys? You bet, I said. Well, said Aaron, how would you like to go to a place where there are real pioneers? So we went south, down to Beersheba near the Negev desert.
One of the first things we saw in Beersheba was Abraham's well.
Where Abraham's servant saw Rebekah and picked her for Isaac's wife.
Right. And what a contrast between old and new. Just in front of the old well...
a gas station.
And we saw something else that was new in Beersheba. The new housing for the new immigrants. And I began to feel better about them, seeing those permanent new dwellings. And then Aaron took us to Amabara, a work village in the Negev, where the settlers are building homes for themselves and can start doing constructive work. It made you want to pitch right in. And then Aaron showed us one of Israel's latest miracles, the place where last spring a bumper crop was raised in the desert by these pioneers. Wheat and barley for acres and acres, helping to increase Israel's agricultural output by 40% in the past year. It made your heart beat faster to see what they were creating so much out of nothing. The first crop in 2,000 years. And there will be crops in the Negev every year from now on. Imagine sunflowers growing in the desert.
And we saw the lines of pipe being put down to bring water into the desert. And that's only the beginning. If only they can get more pipes, even desert soil can be made to yield more and more of the food that they need so badly.
Yes, we learned that the real pioneers of Israel are right down there in the Negev. Some of them only got there last week or a month ago. I felt convinced. Nothing can lick such a people.
Back of Beersheba, a letter was waiting. Dear Jerilyn, please come to see us in our new home in Maseret Yogun. a settlement near Haifa on August 18th, my birthday. I will have a party. The letter from Rachel had been all over Israel, but August 18th, that was tomorrow.
So we spent our last day in Israel with Rachel in the settlement of Meshech Yagon. It was near Haifa where we'd met on the docks. Their home was only a tin hut, but after a tent it was heaven to them, and someday they'll even have a better house in Israel.
As we were leaving, Rachel called me aside. A present for me, I said? It's your birthday, not mine. But Rachel said, I made it for you in the settlement school. I was never so happy to get anything as that cardboard star, the symbol of Israel.
I stood looking out at the new settlement, and I knew that if we would help, there'd be nothing to worry about in Israel. Someday, the tents and even the huts would be places to laugh about. And Israel will be a land of plenty for everyone who lives there. We had to leave Israel the next day, but as we left, we knew that other planes would be landing, bringing other groups and newcomers from all over to start life over in the state of Israel. Now that you've been to Israel and have seen a little of that courageous young democracy, maybe you feel something of what we felt when we left there. That you'd like to help make their new country strong and keep it free. Provide enough food, homes, medical care to turn newcomers into full citizens. Well, you can help. Your support of the United Jewish Appeal has saved 2 million lives in 14 years. Enabled more than 750,000 homeless men, women, and children to find a haven in Israel. Help turn Israel into a real home for them. Help Israel keep its gates open as a place of refuge. If Israel is to help the weak, then it must be strong. Because lives depend on us, support the United Jewish Appeal through your campaign in your community.